Sterilizer, an enigma of damage, a utility utopia, the team enabler offering insane synergies, are things I would say if I was the unpaid PR team for the weapon. I am not. It is objectively one of the worst guns or sport weapons in the game, unfortunately, even after the recent buffs to both itself and gas, although the gas buffs were kind of a nerf to players, kind of, in certain ways. I'll go to explain most of that and also bring up a random comparison to Helldivers 1 given the Tox-13 Avenger, which I assumed is what this weapon would be sort of mimicking, kind of, and that was a massive mistake. It's my bad, because in that game, the Tox-13 Avenger was nuts. You are just spewing sludge at enemies that kills the majority of chaff lickety-split, takes out elites, or the heavies in that game, rather. Like, the Impaler and Charger equivalents get smoked. And the slowdown was genuinely impactful. Knowing that, flashback to the Chemical Agents Warbond, the first one to ever have stratagems, the Gas Dog and Sterilizer. And Sterilizer at the time just had a mist that would damage enemies very little and make them go crazy and attack stuff. They also, I believe, had less range. Recently, gas now slows down enemies, and Sterilizer emits a gas cloud at around the end of its misting. So you have a bit more range, and seemingly you should have a better ability to apply that gas effect to multiple enemies given the lingering cloud. The problem with that is it actually fades very quickly, and wind can blow it away. It has anti-tank armor pen, which is cool in concept, but in this case, you're doing 1 DPS with the direct beam and 25 DPS with the constant effect. You cannot reapply or put more of it on an enemy at one time. It doesn't stack. So I think in total, you're doing 26 damage per second. Could be off a little bit on that. It's still hilariously low, no matter how you slice it. And I never bring up DPS, but in this case, I'm going off the wiki because the game has no information on the damage whatsoever. Now, the confusion lasts 9 seconds, and I believe the damage over time, and I also slow, lasts 10 seconds. We'll cover how it performs on enemies right now. Wilburs, the small orange scavengers, pouncers, and bile spitters, those all die to a single application of the gas consistently, which is neat. The moment you go above those fellas and start facing the medium units, which would be warriors and anything above them, it takes multiple applications, and that's where you're encouraged to swap your weapon and shoot them with your primary or secondary, or have a teammate kill them. They tend to turn and move their body, which moves their head weak point, which is the easiest thing to shoot and kill them the quickest with, away from you. So unless you're using, let's say, an explosive weapon, you're not better off in doing that. In fact, you'd be better off using a flamethrower and killing them that way, because part of the issue with the Sterilizer is you'll confuse enemies, but if you can't kill them, they'll be unconfused eventually, and they're going to want to destroy you. Also, when facing bugs, they have this unique ability to sit there and spam attack certain things based on colliding with terrain. You'll notice that where they're just slap chopping something, and they'll turn into a slap chop salesman when you confuse them, and they start swinging randomly hitting the ground. They're going to fruit ninja you in broad daylight. On Rupture Strain, you can hit the burrowed warriors and make them either emerge or kind of ignore you for a little bit. It doesn't kill them though, so it takes multiple applications, which kind of sucks. On the Rupture Spewers, if they're going to go for a spew on you, it takes them time to actually channel it, which is good, so you can actually hit them and they'll just turn their head and avoid you. That's if they're close enough. Normally they're kind of just lobbing their little bubbles at you from deep. So it's not good there either necessarily. It's just a neat interaction. And that also applies to the nursing spewers and I believe bile spewers. But for them, they're going to hit the initial spew on you and you'll just maybe make them miss the rest of it. That's maybe, because sometimes they don't care and they just kill you outright. When a charger's galloping towards you, you can spritz it with the silly mist and it should veer off course and not destroy you beyond space and time. So don't do that. At one point in time, I'm pretty sure it did work. Could be wrong. But I know for a fact that right now, it's very inconsistent if it does work. It's not going to be good against any of the bigger enemies, though. It's not going to be good at killing a Charger itself. An Impaler, it does nothing against those guys. Bile Titans, it doesn't blind them. It doesn't really slow them down in a meaningful fashion that I could notice. On Spore Burst, you're facing a faction on the snack that rivals crack. And it's not goldfish, it is the clouds. The crack clouds. You kill them, they freaking inhale that, and they're off to the races, running you down, gonna gut you like a fish. They can blitz past your defenses, ignoring all the gas clouds that linger for a half second and get blown away by the wind. Awesome stuff. And there's just very little value from you trying to control the crowd because you have no control. You're in their domicile. It's their domain. Now, it does kill them a bit faster because they're always taking... They take massive damage from each other. It's weird. Like, they can just be a random patrol and they're already weak. I swear they're just having slapboxing sessions behind the scenes. That's the one upside. But in general, it feels kind of weird. In Helldivers 1, the Tox-13 Avenger could kill every bug and slow down all the things you would need to. I think aside from maybe a Hive Lord. But Impalers, Chargers, they would die fairly fast. And Chargers could be charging after you. You hit them with the Tox-13, and it stops the charge. And they're slowed. It just had so much more utility. Now, real quick, I am not saying that this should be the same as in Helldivers 2. Look at the difference. We just go ahead and just copy that 1-to-1. That would be silly. I'm instead pointing out how this gun actually served a purpose. Very powerful, obviously, but it still did stuff. The Sterilizer, as I showed you, and it's not doctoring it and making it seem bad on purpose, doesn't do much, does not really serve a real reason to exist. One solution, real quick by the way, is to make it a primary weapon. The power it has is more suited for a primary weapon, and even then, maybe it's not strong enough, I don't know. But that would make more sense off rip. Illuminate, voteless, eventually die to the damage over time, although in some cases, I do believe they can survive. Not a huge deal, it doesn't happen too often. The bigger issue is that you can be shooting into a crowd of voteless, and the gas does not really apply all that well to a bunch of them. Mainly because the cloud is effectively useless, which doesn't feel great. The bigger issue for that faction is that one of the overseers, the body camless, baton enthusiast, brutality enthusiast, so that twice. Point is, the fellow that beats the brakes off you Wukong style doesn't get confused. It turns out the body camless overseer can get confused. It just takes a lot more silliness than you'd expect. The blade of armor tricks you because it has the green cloud effect around it, which means confusion, normally. It just requires you to directly hit it for a prolonged period of time. For meat bobs, they're charging after you, you hit them. This is actually the best case scenario in which they just veer off course instantly. It's very consistent. There's no waiting for it to happen. You don't have to second guess it. They just hit dang near a 90-degree turn and avoid you. That's cool. And for these guys, you can hit them virtually anywhere, ideally the heads, obviously, but you don't have to be super specific with your aim to get value in actually hitting them. Mind you, there's nothing else it does on that faction I'm aware of. You can't hit stingrays, you can't do much to harvesters. They don't get confused. Fairly certain about that. You'll see gameplay. You can be the judge. In Helldivers 1, the Avenger was not great on the illuminate. Most had shields taking time to destroy if you could in the first place, and once broken, if they didn't have organic material, it seemed as though you couldn't damage them. An example being the harvesters, or in this game's case, tripods. They just ignored it entirely, didn't get slowed down. There was no visual indication of it affecting them whatsoever. But if they did have organic if they did have flesh of some kind, for instance, the hunters, the apprentice, and the outcast, they'd die very fast. And if you're facing the illusionist or council member, you would break their shield using your primary and then swap to the Tox-13. And I'm pretty sure a single freaking spritz and they would die. Maybe two. And that's actually pretty sick. It still had some value there. But it was effectively useless on the obelisks. Automatons. Those guys have guns. Nonetheless, against the Billy Bobs troopers, you spritz them a little bit, they die to a single application of the gas, all well and dandy, if they don't piece you up in the meantime. When facing Devastators, you've got a few different types. The basic ones that just don't have anything going on, just a blaster in their hands. You hit them, they're confused, they do not die to a single application, and that also applies to every Devastator. Rocket Devastators sit in a pretty good distance, unleashing a barrage and reloading and doing that over and over again. So you don't really get the ability to hit them in most cases. And for Shield Devastators, they can just avoid the gas most of the time. Like if you hit them at a good angle, you'll apply it, but for some reason, the shield just blocks all the gas. Like the wind will mess up your cloud, but the wind won't apply the gas to the Devastator right in front of you when you're just unloading on it with the silly mist. I don't get that. A little perplexing. Very dangerous too. Those guys, you're taking an aerosol can against a Terminator equipped with a minigun. expecting good results. Not a great plan. Oddly enough, on Scout Striders that have a little guy riding on them, you can hit their jondals, the crotch region, and that will apply the mist to the whole thing and make it confused. But again, Devastators can ignore it, and on Hulks, you hit them, they're confused as well. Now, I don't know about Rocket Striders. Sorry. I'll get some footage for it. War Striders, for a fact, do not get affected by the gas. You can kill it, and you can kill a Faction Strider. You can kill a tank. Can you kill a Vox Engine? Maybe. Probably not, actually. But it's just going to take forever, so it doesn't actually matter. Matter of fact, you could do various household chores, or just random things like making food, which can be seen as a chore in some cases, before you kill those enemies with Sterilizer. So the main thing to understand is that they have guns. They will absolutely piece you up before you can do much of anything. And there is just no real reason to use this weapon. Also consider, if you're confusing Devastators, unless folks are using weapons that don't require good aim, you're just making things worse for your teammates, because now they can't hit headshots. I could kill so many Devastators before you get value from Sterilizer confusing them. You're doing me a disservice, because if I can't hit the face, it takes a ton of bullets everywhere else, especially with certain light pin weapons. Like Diligence, one tap to the head versus, I'm not even sure how many to a leg for it. Like, just, it gets to be not good very quickly. In Helldivers 1, you could handle everything that wasn't a Warlord, which is essentially an armored Hulk, and a tank. Those guys, I'm pretty sure you need anti-tank. But for everything else, you had the utility of slowing them down, and you could also kill them. It wasn't the fastest time to kill in certain cases. I believe the Butchers were some beefy boys, but you could still survive, especially on the grotesque guys. Freaking little goblins that chase after you and beat the ever-living daylights out of you. Those fellers weren't a problem whatsoever. Judging all those accounts, do you really think the weapon's worth bringing? Is it worth a stratagem slot? Because I don't believe it is. And a person in the Discord recently, my Discord, D.O. Double Douglas's Dojo, AMA, they mentioned how you should just make it a primary weapon out of nowhere, which is, I think, actually a fair thing to do given how lackluster it is, because your other options would be to give it actual utility. You could increase the range a little bit and the AoE, so you have a better time applying the effects to enemies, but then you still have the issue where they turn away and make it difficult for teammates to actually get value from them being confused, and they just be unconfused later on and kill everyone, potentially. And it also encourages explosive meta, because why aim? You can just shoot them anywhere and get value. Not particularly ideal, kind of a boring meta that folks don't love being shoehorned into. The other two options, one of them is to simply allow it to strip armor better. An example is Charger Legs. You hit them with this, and it removes the leg armor decently fast. Maybe. Or the thing we already have in the game called Acid Rain, apply the effect to Sterilizer. You lower the armor rating of the things you're shooting. If it's heavy armor, it goes to medium. If it's anti-tank, I think 1, it goes to heavy. That gives me a reason to use it, even just for myself, but also for my teammates. He's got machine gun. I can go ahead and lower the armor. You can now kill a Hulk or whatever. Maybe not the best time to kill, but it's at least interesting. It's more engaging than just, I hit him with the silly mist. You guys see that? Isn't that cool? No, it's not cool. I want a reason to use stuff, and it doesn't have to be the best thing since sliced bread. Although in this case, we could probably increase the damage from 1 if my eyes don't deceive me. Like, that is ridiculously low. But hey, they don't want to make it like the Flamethrower, even though it's very much so keeping up with the Flamethrower in all these regards. Like, Flamethrower can slow things, so now Sterilizer can, but Sterilizer and gas can slow players, which is actually a net negative, because enemy slow isn't that noticeable, but the player slow is. Food for thought. Anyway, that's the video. If you guys like the hats, OutWestTeams.com, my brother's business. It's not sponsored. He's not paying me yet. Maybe in the future I can if I sell some hats. And I want to get some cooler designs. So if you guys like them, buy them. If not, I need to brainstorm some things that folks want to buy because they're cool. That's the goal. Anyway, Thank y'all for watching. I appreciate your time greatly, and have a good day.